Biblically Centered Kids.
Happy Wednesday, kiddos! Thank you so much for listening to the Biblically Centered Kids podcast. I'm so happy that you're listening today. It's a great Wednesday. My name is Miss Danika, and today is March 27th, 2024. There are so many fun things happening today. First off, it is Manatee Appreciation Day. Have you ever seen a manatee? Aren't they so funny? They look pretty cuddly too, though. They can be anywhere from 10 to 13 feet in length and weigh almost 1,300 pounds. That's 1,300 pounds.
Whoa!
Oh man, that's a big animal. Despite looking bulky, they can move or swim very quickly if necessary. You can find them in slow rivers, saltwater bays, estuaries, canals, and other coastal areas. And they spend their entire lives either sleeping, eating, or traveling. Man, that sounds pretty nice. They don't have a care in the world, and they only need to surface occasionally to replenish their oxygen. And did you know that they only eat seagrass? Wow. I would not want to just eat seagrass. I'm glad I'm not a manatee. All right, it is also National Scribble Day. It is all about celebrating the creativity and the art associated with scribbling, which anyone can do regardless of their artistic abilities. The word scribble can be traced back to the Latin word scribere, which actually means to write. To scribble is to write letters or words hastily, often done in an illegible manner. It's a manner that doesn't really make sense. So today, if you want to blow off some steam or just have some fun, why don't you just scribble along? On March 27th, 1929, President Herbert Hoover had the first phone installed at the desk in the Oval Office of the White House. President Rutherford B. Hayes had the first telephone installed, but there had never been one installed at the president's desk until Hoover's administration. The presidents before then had to walk out into the hallway.
Was that phone call for me?
Has anyone been participating in March Madness? Well, March Madness crowned its first men's NCAA champion in 1939. The University of Oregon defeated the Ohio State University 46-33 on March 27, 1939. March Madness, as the tournament became known, has grown exponentially in size and popularity. Do you have a favorite team you're rooting for? Who is it? Let me know. All right, let's review our virtue real fast before we get to our game. This week, we're learning about peace. Virtue M says, we maintain peace, letting the Spirit lead our hearts and minds. All right, now it's time for today's game. We're going to play some puzzling puzzles today. These were taken from faithfulteaching.org. Okay, so the first 5 are all about animals in the Bible. Let's see if I can puzzle you. Number 1. I named the animals. Who am I? Do you remember or do you know who named the animals in the Bible? All the way back in Genesis, who was it? Adam, the first man, got to name all of the animals. Right. Number 2, Aaron carved a likeness of me out of gold. What animal am I? Do you remember a recent Bible story that we read? Moses and Aaron, when Moses was up the mountain getting the 10 Commandments, what did Aaron do with everyone's gold? Do you remember? He threw it in a fire and out came a calf. A golden calf. Yes. Okay. Number 3. I bit Paul on the hand. What am I? Have you read about all the troubles and things Paul went through in the New Testament? He actually was bit by a snake. Yeah. Okay. I was sacrificed instead of Isaac. What animal am I? So Abraham and Isaac obeyed God. And so Abraham brought Isaac up the mountain, but he trusted that they would both come back down. And so God provided a ram in place of Isaac. Okay. John the Baptist ate me in the desert. What insect am I? Ooh. John the Baptist ate locusts. Yuck. Have you ever tried a grasshopper or a cricket? I can tell you right now without even trying one, I am not a fan. I don't want to eat any crickets or grasshoppers. Okay. Here are some riddles about children of the Bible. So be thinking about children of the Bible that you've read, and let's see if you can get these puzzles. I was sold into slavery by my brothers. Who am I? We actually talked about this story a few weeks ago too. Joseph was sold into slavery, wasn't he? But then he went on to save his whole family. Number 2, my mother and sister put me in a basket in the river where Pharaoh's daughter found me and raised me as an Egyptian. Who am I? Who was put in a basket and protected by God? Moses, right? Yes, such a cool story. All right, I was the youngest of 8 brothers and a shepherd, but I still became king. We've talked about this person a lot too. Do you remember? It was David, right? Samuel came to David's father's house and looked over all of his brothers and said, none of these brothers are going to be king. Do you have any more sons? And they said, oh yeah, just David out watching the sheep. Sure enough, that's who Samuel anointed to be king after Saul. Okay, it says, I was the first baby born. Who am I? So in the whole Bible, who was the first baby that was born? It was Cain, right? Cain and Abel, they were brothers. Cain was the first baby born. Okay, it says, my parents, Abraham and Sarah, were both very old when they had me. Who am I? We just mentioned him in another question. Isaac, right? Isaac was the one promised by God and through whom all the nations of the earth would come from. Okay, here are some Bible puzzles about Jesus' ministry. I am the disciple that was sitting at a tax booth when Jesus called me. Who am I? Do you remember? That was actually Matthew, and Matthew actually wrote the first gospel in the New Testament. Okay, the disciples were doing this as Jesus prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. We're coming up. This is Holy Week that we're actually in. And so it was the night when Jesus actually was arrested, and he asked his disciples to come pray with him. And what do they wind up doing instead? Do you remember? Yes, they fell asleep. Oh, man. All right, and our last puzzling puzzle for today is after the resurrection, Jesus told me, feed my sheep 3 times. Do you remember who that was? So he said, do you love me? Feed my sheep. And he said it 3 times to one disciple. And we actually talked about him a while ago too. Do you remember? It was Peter, right? Peter denied Jesus 3 times, and then 3 times Jesus asked, do you love me? Feed my sheep. So I hope you enjoyed those puzzling puzzles. They were a little shorter than our last ones, but they still made you think. I bet it made me think. So I hope you really enjoyed playing along with me today. I had a great time with you, and I can't wait for our New Testament story tomorrow. Until next time.